Mina, what did you make of Kyrie Irving coming to his second
Being
Lakers
there.
game of the year?
I mean, I was kind of watching the game, especially in the second half when it became apparent that the non-Brons weren't going to contribute enough and that, of course, Bron himself was gassed, as we've been discussing. I was thinking, okay, would Kyrie Irving and his shot making be the difference? Uh, because I feel the same way as you guys do. I think generally about AD, where I feel like a lot of the disappointment with AD is sort of relative to who he was a few years ago, and the sort of unwillingness, especially as a shooter, to not accept that he's just not that player anymore. And as Brian, you said, he is inconsistent. So I was watching and thinking, okay, well, what if you threw Kyrie in here instead of D'Angelo Russell / Schroeder? And I thought it probably wouldn't be enough against the Nuggets just because they seem to be so clearly the best team and so deep and consistent, but it certainly would make them a contender next year that you would put in that next tier. I don't know how you view the Lakers next year with if they didn't have them, if they were to just run it back. And so, yeah, I got, like you said, I think LeBron showed us he's not done. And I think the idea of throwing a player like that into the rotation, you'd have to take them pretty seriously.
I hate what it's going to do to my man Austin Reeves, though, because I feel like those off minutes where LeBron's not the head of the offense are
Mm-hmm.
Austin Reeves running the show minutes, which have been pretty fun, and he's not a minus on defense. And being in DC, I've seen a lot of Rui Hachimura, and I don't know who the guy is that's in LA, but it's not the Rui that we saw here for the Wizards. But he is a great piece that it seems like it just people who can get their own shot. And if you asked me 2 months ago, can Rui Hachimura get his own shot? I would have laughed in your face. But in stretches of this game, like he was putting the ball on the ground and getting to the basket and compromising the defense, blowing a couple layups, but doing things that I thought that he can build on. And if you have that, you have Austin Reeves, you have LeBron James, who hopefully will be on some sort of health management program so he can be at his top for the playoffs. You have AD, like, yeah, I think that's something. And Schroeder's been really good, like better than his contract situation suggests. So yeah, I mean, I like them going forward, but yeah, they're still gonna get their ass beat by the Nuggets probably.
Well, Darvin Ham moved Rui Hachimura into the starting lineup tonight, and he played 42 minutes and went 3 of 12. I'm not sure he's a 42-minute player in the Western Conference Finals, but he obviously helped them. The thing about the Lakers is this: it's not just a Kyrie or the trade guys they traded for. Let me just point something out. They played 8 guys tonight. One of them was Tristan Thompson, who played 10 minutes, and I was gobsmacked. A month and a half ago, he was on the set of NBA Today with us and openly campaigning every day to join the Lakers, which worked. So here he was. But he played 8 guys in this game. Jared Vanderbilt was not one of them. He was a traded piece. Malik Beasley was not one of them. He was a piece acquired by trade. Mo Bamba didn't play. He's been injured, but he didn't play. He was acquired by trade. And D'Angelo Russell played 15 minutes and was not effective. Now, we know that you're not going to evaluate a whole team by the way you play an elimination game in the conference finals, but those are the guys they'd pretty much have to say goodbye to create salary cap space. If they said goodbye to Russell, who's a free agent, if they said goodbye to Hachimura, who's a free agent, if they said goodbye to Bamba and Beasley has a team option that they can opt out of by the end of June, and Bamba's a free agent. If they said goodbye to all of those guys, they could generate $30.5 million in salary cap room. They have some ways that they could potentially get some more a little bit. For example, let's say they don't use their first round draft pick this year. Let's say they either draft a player that they're not going to sign, like an overseas player or something, or let's say they trade that first round draft pick for a future pick. And so they don't have him on the books. And let's say they offload a guy like Max Christie, who's on their books but doesn't really play. They could get to around $35 million in salary cap space. Now, the max contract level for a player like Kyrie Irving is $47 million. So for a guy like Kyrie Irving to come straight up to the Lakers, he'd have to leave $12 million on the table. And they would also have to fill out all of those extra spots with minimum level players. And this Bobby Mark's giving me these numbers. I'm not making them up. And they take into account that when you clear salary cap space, you can't go down to like 2 players in the roster. You have to account for at least the ability to have to sign minimum players. So can Kyrie Irving sign with the Lakers? Yes, he can. Can he sign with the Lakers for the max contract? Probably not. Okay, so let's say they generate $30 million. Would Kyrie be willing to come to the Lakers for a 4-year contract in the $130 million range? Would they even offer a 4-year contract? I don't know the answer to these questions. I know that it behooves Kyrie to have that out there because he's negotiating with the Mavericks and he wants the Mavericks to offer him a contract starting at that 47 million. And if they don't think anybody else is going to offer him that level, they're maybe not going to offer it. And if the Lakers have 30 million and he's their other option, they could offer less than 47 and still beat the Lakers offer. So it behooves Kyrie, whether he wants to be a Maverick or he wants to be a Laker, or he wants to be some other player, it behooves him to have other teams showing interest in him and him being attached to other teams, which I suspect is one of the reasons why he came to 2 Laker playoff games. And I'm sorry for the filibuster. I'll turn it over in just a second. But it doesn't just have to be Kyrie. There are other players out there who could potentially help the Lakers. Like, for example, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet is an unrestricted free agent. He has rejected offers from the Raptors. I don't know where the Raptors are headed. He could be an option for the Lakers and probably at closer to that $30+ million number. Fred VanVleet is represented by Rich Paul. He recently changed agents. Rich Paul is his agent. I don't think Rich Paul is going to take him to LA for a discount, but I think that has to be taken under advisement. And then there's other players too, potentially, that they could be interested in. But I do think that the Lakers, when they look at the fact that all of these guys that they got in this trade, they weren't, with the exception of Hachimura, didn't play a role at the very end. I think I think that they're going to probably look to try to open that cap space up to do something with it. And one more thing, because I know people are saying, well, what about Austin Reeves? Austin Reeves is a restricted free agent. And because he's only played 2 years in the NBA, opposing teams are limited to how much they can offer him. They can only offer him a salary starting at $11 million. But he doesn't count against the Lakers cap for $11 million until he signs it. Then there's other things they can do to put poison pills and backload. I'm not going to go into that, but the bottom line is when I'm generating that number of 30 million or 35 million, that is with Austin Reeves baked in as staying with the team. So that's right. The Lakers cap situation as of right now, which I'm sure is going to come into focus, Mina, because in the next month, they have to make some decisions on what they're going to do with some of these players as they figure out what's going to be next. They call it running a business for a reason, because every day feels like a sprint to the finish. It takes a lot of work to make it all work. But with Clover and Merchant One, you're always a step ahead. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your point of sale technology. We make it easy to accept payments, run your entire business, and sell more. Clover plus Merchant One. Better business solutions. Go to clover.com/M1 to get started.
I guess my question for you, Ryan, is someone who knows LeBron and the way he has approached roster construction in the past, is part of the reason why there's so much speculation about Kyrie, even if, as you laid out, it would be an immense sacrifice of depth and potentially not the prudent approach to the off season. There's also an assumption amongst casuals like myself that LeBron James has a outsized influence on, the GMing of a team. Do you think he wants Kyrie Irving to be on the Lakers?
I think he wants talented players that can help him take the next step. And, again, no matter what you think of Kyrie, and a big thing with Kyrie coming to the Lakers, Kyrie misses a lot of games. Anthony Davis misses a lot of games. LeBron for the last few years has missed a lot of games. And so you'd be really rolling the dice with 3 guys who have been missing games and then probably having no depth. You'd be going back to where you were with Russell Westbrook, where you basically had 3 star players with huge salaries and a bunch of minimums around them. That's where the Lakers would go back to. And by the way, they can also walk a middle path where they could re-sign Roy Hachimura potentially, and then have other ways to acquire players, maybe trade Jared Vanderbilt, maybe trade Malik Beasley. There are sign and trade possibilities that could happen, although that would that'd be a little more complicated. But I think that the Lakers are in for a fascinating offseason, and absolutely, in my view, a one-off situation. I think they're absolutely still relevant. And I don't think that you break up Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And I think there's the concept that, we'll hear about AD trade. I just don't think you do it. I think they got to the conference finals because of how good they are. And LeBron's still got gas in the tank. I say you run it back and see what you can do with it again if you upgrade the roster even some more.
Yeah, I mean, I think no one expected them to make the run that they did this year, and there were so many surprises in the playoffs this year, I think, and probably last year too. There were a couple of surprises. It feels like the NBA's heading in a different direction because of just like the amount of talent, and it's not kind of preordained thing who's going to go to the finals and win the finals in the way that it felt like it was in the past. So I think the Lakers have a reasonable shot if they go at it next year. I appreciate you laying out all the cap implications, because that makes the conversation a lot easier and clearer for me. And I'm, unlike me, and I'm willing to be armchair GM. Don't sign Kyrie. That seems like a terrible idea to me. Like
the way he laid it out was, I mean,
it just like, and so first of all, like for him to take a pay cut, given the decisions that he's made over the past several years, from the pandemic to not getting vaccinated to making anti-Semitic remarks and not backing off of them, it appears that there are things that are more important to him than money. So that would make Laker fans happy. Like, yeah, we might be able to talk him into this because he is willing to give up millions of dollars for whatever reasons that are foolish. However, he's not the same Kyrie that was the Kyrie that LeBron played with in the past. Like, he left in part because he wanted his own. He was like, I don't want to be under LeBron's thumb. I don't want to wait till LeBron leaves me here. I don't know. It seems hard to believe that this version of Kyrie is a version of Kyrie that's going to fall in line and make everything go according to plan. I can't remember the last time that Kyrie had a regular season that was without incident. So
that's correct.
That combine that with the fact that you're going to have to give up all your depth, and Kyrie may not play but 40, 50, 60% of the games, it doesn't seem like a prudent move.
Yeah, I would generally agree. I think part of it is you're not going to the Star grocery store where you can say, oh, we have 6 different options. That's the option. And I don't for example, the 2 big names out on the market this year are James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Both of them at 48 to 50 something, contracts would average 50 million, seem like very bad bets, but there's a scarcity there. I also think that both of them, Kyrie, showing up at Laker games, James Harden being rumored to be attached to the Rockets. I still suspect that all of that is just one giant leverage play, that what James Harden really wants is to elicit the biggest offer out of the Sixers, even if it isn't a max, whatever the number of money is, for as long as many years he can get. And that this slow dance for months and these rumors are all sort of tied to that. And I think that Kyrie could be doing the exact same thing, just doing all of this and whatever he may do between now and free agency, to try to get the juiciest offer he can from the team that he's on, because those are the teams that face the most damage for losing those guys. But it's not the greatest year for free agents. It's just
such a different world from the NFL, where, because you're talking about guys who our last memories of them are pretty bitter. Last time we watched them play basketball or didn't play basketball. And yet, because it's the scarcity of stardom in this league is so real, it probably, they're still able to exert the kind of leverage you're talking about. It's just such a different league.
Well, it is
Amazing.
a bit of an inflection point to see whether or not the desire for those two guys and the
Yeah.
downsides will trump it, whether or not, because Houston is under pressure to improve from the owner. The owner like wants them to improve fast, and even if they had won the lottery, they were intending to spend all their money on veteran free agents. Like they were not going to like build around Wembanyama with other teenagers or young guys. They were going to be like, no, we're going to still go try to sign, 28 and 32-year-olds to try to win games now. So each team kind of has a different situation. That's what the Rockets' mandate is, at least as of now. The Lakers' mandate is what can they do to get better than Denver? And that's one of the things I want to talk about here. LeBron is on the podium right now, and he's saying that after the game, he was talking to Anthony Davis, and they think it's the best team they've played since they've been together in the playoffs. Basically, they're like, look, we just got beat by a better team. And LeBron was talking about how he just can't believe it's the way Jokic shoots the ball with behind his head, flinging it like he's Larry Bird. I thought Dirk, but LeBron's compared to Larry Bird. And so they just, when you're a team that's in that situation where you see another team that's just better, the desperation, it's not, not so much desperation, but it's urgency. And that favors these guys who are out there on the market. And so that's going to be interesting. Because the Lakers have the first round pick left to trade, they could get involved in the trade market too, of players that could be on the market. We don't know who those guys might be yet, but it doesn't just have to be through free agency. But
thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.